Hello, hello. If anybody in Zoom world can speak, we just need to do a little bit of testing really quick. Would be very helpful.
Hello from Karen.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it.
And hi from Wayne.
Hello, hello, hello. Testing. Can you hear me?
Hello, hello, hello. Hearing.
Let's try it again. Okay, I'm testing it over here on my end. We can hear it on speakers. And then if someone in Zoom could speak one last time.
Hi there. I can hear you just fine. It's Wayne. Hello, everyone.
That's okay. Awesome. Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. That's fine.
All right. Is it working? Yeah. Welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Coronado, our weekly Wednesday meeting for September 21st. And I want to welcome all of our guests, all of our members here at the K's Yacht Club, and all of those that are on Zoom. So today I'm excited for today's meeting because we're honoring and supporting our military and our wounded warriors. So next we have our Inspirational Invocation and Pledge with Gloria and Nadell. If everyone would please stand.
Thank you, President Luann, and thank you, fellow Rotarians. Please bow your head and join me for a moment of silence and contemplation while I read some words from Mother Teresa. The fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love. The fruit of love is service. The fruit of service is peace. Prayer, faith, love, service, peace. Please join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gloria. So today we're going to announce visiting Rotarians and guests, and we're missing past President Dan Orr doing the honors. He is out of town. His daughter's getting married, so that's good. So let's start with, we have several visiting Rotarians, Doug Roberts and his wife Shirley Fulkins Roberts from Reno Central Rotary Club. So welcome. Okay, and guests, I'll start out first. We have Mia Rosenberry from the Wounded Warrior Homes, right here. And we have Tim Ney and Stan Miller from the Armed Services YMCA San Diego. And then if we can get the mics, we have...
President Luann, you hear me? I'd like to introduce again to many of you my wife Penny, right here to my right. And on my left-hand side, our daughter-in-law Sandy Jennings. Her husband is on his way, but he's not here yet. So Al came by to get his meal.
President Luann, fellow Rotarians, I'm introducing President Luann's guest today. We have the commanding officer of Naval Station North Island, Captain Woody Clemens. And also the EXO, the executive officer of Naval Station North Island, and he will be fleeting up to be the commanding officer in the next couple months, and that's Captain Newt McKissick.
President Luann and fellow Rotarians, I have the honor of welcoming my wife Holly to our meeting today.
President Luann, can you hear me? Sorry. I would like to welcome my wife Sarah Jones and our special guest Barb Gomes from Kailua, Hawaii.
President Luann and fellow Rotarians, I'd like to introduce my special guest, Bernice Samaro, from Cal Private Bank, located on Orange Avenue.
Okay, I think that's it. Next, do we have any visiting Rotarians, any guests on Zoom? If we do, if you want to unmute yourself. Okay, I think we're good. Then what I normally do is for red badgers, have them stand up so all of you know who they are. And I always ask at the end of the meeting, do me a favor, go up to them and, introduce yourself, get to know them. So if they stand up, Ronnie Hosler, is Ronnie here? There she is right there. Tim Quast, right here. John Meisner is here. And Keith Manning. Keith is here somewhere, I think. Oh, I think he was out front. Okay, I don't think we have any other red badgers. And I don't know if we have any on Zoom. If we do, unmute yourself. Okay, there's Ray Batar waving to us. Okay, there. Okay, now let's go to announcements. Everybody knows that the Emporium Now wine tasting, for those that have registered, is this Friday at 6 p.m. Then Rotary Apparel, everybody saw that outside in the lobby, they have samples that you can order, so they'll be there on the way out. Check out all the apparel. And then if you have the slide. Okay, so last month at the board meeting, we approved money, a donation to the Coronado High School football boosters. And with that as an appreciation, there is a banner. And that will be through the whole football season on 6th Street. And no, the bike is not a gift. That was there with a picture. Next, if you're interested in co-chairing the Christmas party this year, which will be held here again at the Hayes Yacht Club, please see Natalie Bailey. Then last night we had a board meeting, and I always kind of give highlights to what we did during the board meeting. And one of the things that was really great, and we made Earl Poole an honorary member, thanks to Ivan Dunn. And Earl is a longtime member. He's 90. He had a stroke. And so we all felt the right thing to do would be to make him an honorary member. Then we approved $200 for the district conference for Rotaractors to go to the district conference. So that helps to pay for that for them. And then we approved $250 for another vocational networking event. Next, we have Karen Strebula on Zoom, and she's telling us about LEAD. Karen, if you want to unmute.
Thank you, President Luann, fellow Rotarians. LEAD is starting again after several years of a hiatus. We're really excited. So LEAD is called Leadership, Ethics, Aspirations, and Determination. It is a program that Rotary has run for years and years. The details are on this flyer. It's really an amazing program. So we are looking for facilitators to assist with this on October 15th and 16th. Our club is hosting 2 students, an 8th grade girl and an 8th grade boy from Coronado Middle School, but we would love to have anyone interested in facilitating join. My contact information is at the bottom. Please reach out to me if this is something you might wish to do, even if you can just go up on Saturday and not spend the night and just join us on Sunday. Thanks so much and have a great day.
So if you're interested, please see her on that. Next, if past President Suzanne Manuel will give us a little bit on, if you can get a mic, there she is already.
I'm ready.
On
Ready to
the
go.
district conference.
Okay, so October 29th is our district conference up in Del Mar. And you'll remember Dan Gensler's amazing district conference last year. So we're looking forward to Chuck Preto's, our district governor's conference this year. It's 6 to 9, and we already have 1 table full and would love to have at least 2 tables full of Coronado Rotarians. So you can register online. I think we have a link through our news bits, but also you can go to the district and register there. And any Red Badgers we have that like to go, the club will donate $50 toward that purchase of your registration. So, and we're going to have Matt Heineke. They loved him so much last year they hired him for this district conference. So it's going to be a blast. And I hope you can make it. So register and then give me a call and I'll make sure we get you at the tables, okay, at the Coronado tables. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. Next, if past President Suzanne Poff would come up. It's always great to induct a new member. And this time we have Joe Malo, and his sponsor is Ray Carno. Ray Carno is out today, so I get the honor of standing in for him.
President Luann, members of the board, Rotarians, and guests. First, I just want to say that I'm truly grateful and honored to have this privilege to induct new members into our club. Jerry Easton, a longtime member, did this for many, many years, and I have no idea how I ended up with the task, but I really do enjoy it. The induction of new members is a special opportunity to welcome people into our club. Many of us already know today's inductee, Joe Malloy, sponsored by Ray Carno, disguised as President Luann today. His classification is corporate communication. Joe, we welcome you to this global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world. The club thanks you for your willingness to share the values of service and fellowship in Rotary and our AV needs. A new member for our club means new ideas, new enthusiasm, and a greater fellowship, which leads to greater service. It is with great pleasure that on behalf of President Luann, members of the board, and all of your fellow members, that we welcome you to the Rotary Club of Coronado. Your service above self begins today. Everyone, please rise and welcome our newest member. And please be seated. One of the things that President Luann has started this year is to ask the new member a few questions. So the first thing is, what inspired you to join Rotary?
Hi. My father was in the Rotary in Wilmington, Delaware for about 40 years. He was a great inspiration, still with us. And I just wanted to help the community in the best ways I can with my talents that I can implement with everybody else. That's it, I guess, for that one.
That's great. So Joe, tell us 3 words to describe you.
I'm a web developer, I'm a musician, and a videographer. Do a lot of creative stuff. That's how I make my living. I'm now retired, but I still do a lot of freelance work for different causes. And hope to help out with the Rotary with what I can help out with.
Thank you. You already have. And 3 other interests that you have, because I know you have a lot of interests besides those 3 mentioned.
I enjoy photography, videography, playing music. I did write a song, which I want to do as a separate thing about Coronado. I'm in the Coronado Ukulele Club with Ray, and we play around town. So I'll introduce that song at some point because I want to break down the lyrics because basically it's about the dog beach, it's about the Navy, and it's about how great it is to live here. And that's I write a song about it. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome.
All right, and congratulations, Joe. And also, Joe has helped us out a lot on the tech team, so thankful for that. Next, I would like to ask us, and I don't know if they're done eating, both Captain Clements and Captain McKissick, if you'd like to come up. And Captain Woody McClemens right here is the COO of the base, and Captain Newt McKissick is the XO, and I guess you'll be taking over soon. Is that no? Okay. So it's always special to recognize members of our military that we respect and that keep our country safe, especially since today's meeting is all about honoring and supporting our wounded warriors and our military. So I'd like to read a quick bio on both of them, and believe me, it's a very quick bio. Both of them are so accomplished that I told them it would take the entire meeting to read everything about them. So for Captain Dwight Woody, and that's your call sign, right? Okay, Clemens, is a 1996 graduate of the Naval Academy and earned an advanced degree from the Naval War College. As a naval flight officer, he has logged over 2,600 flight hours and 650 carrier landings in the electronic warfare community, flying both the EA-6B Prowler and the EF-18G Growler. He commanded VAQ-139 Cougars and served on several overseas staffs. And then we have Captain Newt, and I have to ask you, your call sign is Bomb, so we really need to know how you got that one. And his last name is McKissick. Captain McKissick is a 1999 graduate of the Naval Academy and earned advanced degrees from the Naval Postgraduate School and the Naval War College. He has an extensive operational background with over 3,000 hours flying the SH-60B Seahawk. In 2005, Captain McKissick achieved the designation of Seahawk Weapons and Tactics Instructor. He was assigned to the Pentagon in support of the Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Financial Management and Comptroller. So again, both captains are highly decorated with awards and commendations. So what I want to do next is for Captain Clemens and Captain McKissick. Our club had wanted to officially elect you as honorary members of the Rotary Club of Coronado. Unfortunately, that was not possible, but we totally understand. I can say that did not deter our membership from wanting to honor you both for your outstanding service to our country and for being such great neighbors in our community. Our members respect the dedication that you both have exhibited in your naval careers and as CO and XO of what we all consider our base. We know that you both proudly represent the men and women of the U.S. Navy that serve under you. You both exemplify Rotary's motto of service above self that we all live by. If everyone could please rise and thank Captain Woody Clemens and Captain Newt McKissick for their extraordinary military career.
She's put me on the spot. So thank you very much for the opportunity and the honor to be here today. You said it right. We do represent the Navy. We represent the 40,000 folks that work on Naval Base Coronado and come and make this our home. And that's one of the keys that I want everybody to remember is that it's very often that we are that dark spot on the map that nobody knows what happens in that corner. And, you know, you Google there and then they stop and nothing goes on beyond that. And that's what we do. We represent that dark spot on the map. And it's important that we engage in events like this and bring folks out in the community. We were just talking to Amy about the work that HSC 49, I think, did, or 48 did with the Emerald Keepers. And that's being in part of the community. I sat down last night with the school district. We're talking about some of the support we're going to do for Veterans Day with the community there. So that's part of the outreach that makes this our community. So when we hear about the song, we'll be part of that. We hope that that's a continued great relationship and all the support. So thank you very much for our opportunity to be here.
You don't talk after the boss.
Smart man, smart man. Thank you both so much. Okay, so next we have, as you all know, that last week from Low Tide Ride and Stride, we gave out 2 checks to first responders. So this week, there you go. The sound of freedom, right? Okay, so this week we're giving out 2 checks. And the first is to the Armed Services YMCA San Diego. And I'd like to call up Tim Ney, who is the Executive Director, and Stan Miller, who is Vice President of Finance and Administration. And if one of you would like to say a word, at least explain. Yeah.
So hi everyone, I'm Tim Nye and Executive Director, Armed Services YMCA. I am a Marine Corps veteran as well. My son is aboard Coronado. He's flying MH-60 Romeos. Real proud of that in our family. So, of course, he's in the Navy. I was Marine Corps. My dad was Marine Corps, but we'll talk about that later. Armed Services YMCA has been serving military members and their families in San Diego since 1920. Naval Base San Diego was 1919. So we have a long history here, and that's active duty military members and their families. And that is not connected to the County Y, nothing wrong with the County Y, but we report to retired Vice Admiral Bill French at the Washington Armed Services YMCA of the USA. And I believe these funds actually come from the Low Tide Ride and Stride and also the golf tournament as well. So we're strong supporters. We're out there with our flags. But these funds go to the Navy Medical Center to support our wounded, injured, and ill down there. And that could be our littlest warriors as well. The young kids in the NICU, flying a service member in, a family in who's going to say goodbye to their service member for the last time. All sorts of gray areas where our Navy team and Marine Corps team and Coast Guard, that's where we fill in sort of some of those gaps. But that's done through the Coronado Rotary and all your support over the years. To date, it's been many, many years. Over $200,000 has been given to the Armed Services YMCA in partnership with the Navy Medical Center San Diego, supporting our warriors there. So thanks so much for your tremendous support. I said the other day, they say there's that phrase, may you live in interesting times, but that phrase is actually the reverse of that, may you live in uninteresting times. So I'm hoping for a little bit less of that, some uninteresting times. But thanks for your support and generosity as Rotarians. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Here. Yeah. And this is Amy Stewart. She was the chair of Low Tide Ride and Stride this year.
Thanks, Luann. On behalf of the Low Tide Ride and Stride team and all the entire Rotary Club Coronado, we are pleased and proud to present you with this check.
Okay, thank you. And then next, I'd like to ask up for the Wounded Warrior Home, Mia Roseberry, who is the founder and executive director.
Thank you very much for having me today. I greatly appreciate it, and the support from the Coronado Ride and Stride is amazing. Wounded Warrior Homes we just celebrated our 10 years anniversary of serving our first veteran on September 14th, just last week. And it was quite an honor that I was able to sit down and have dinner with Robert, who was the first veteran in and the first veteran to graduate from the program. We sat down and had Chinese food because the night he moved in, that's what we had for dinner in a completely empty apartment. He was homeless on the street, living in his car with his service dog, Bravo, and we had been working with him for like 6 weeks trying to get the keys to an apartment. And we finally got the keys, and I was able to call him. It was about 102 or 3 at the beach that day. And he said, I had my hand on the door of a homeless shelter because I ran out of money. And Wounded Warrior Homes provides transitional housing and reintegrative support services for post 9/11 veterans with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. All veterans are evaluated regardless of their discharge status. And that is one of the things that we do that's completely different than anybody else. So if they have it other than honorable or dishonorable, we will evaluate why. There's very few reasons why we wouldn't take a veteran. So, and we're able to get a veteran and usually within 24 hours. And we're able to do what we do for the last 10 years because of groups like yours. And thank you.
Thank you, Mia. And then Amy has check. Here's also the actual. Thank you both. You're more than welcome. That's why we do what we do, and it makes us all feel so good, for sure. I think we have one announcement, a non-Rotarian announcement from Tom Mitchell.
So this is on behalf of Orit Ostroviak. How many remember Orit? You know, there is a big event tomorrow at the tennis center in Balboa Park. She wanted to have it. It's 1 day, 5 hours, 7 minutes, and 30 seconds away on the countdown for it. It's called Fearless Tennis, but it's with a gentleman named Jeff Greenwald, who is a renowned tennis person. So I know Suzanne Manuel will go. Where's Suzanne? She probably wants to go. Anyway, she asked if we could make this announcement. So if you're interested, you contact me if anybody's interested. It's a phenomenal event at Balboa. So thank you. You can find me whatever REIT wants to pay. I'll pay it.
I'll take you on that one. $50, okay. Again, I always say on fining, that's either money that has already been funded by individuals. It's all for fun, and you can pay the amount you want, or you don't have to pay. So I just want guests to know that. Let's get started. If Jean Marie Bond would like to come up and introduce our speaker and our member today, Tim Kwok.
It is with great honor and respect that I introduce our fellow Rotarian and speaker today. Many of us had the rare opportunity to tour the USNS Mercy last spring. Our speaker today not only made that possible, but also commanded that ship when it deployed last May. Coincidentally, Mercy just pulled into Hawaii yesterday after 4 months at sea, and I am personally pleased to report that my daughter-in-law, who served on the Mercy with her wonderful captain, is flying home. Just got on an airplane right now from Hawaii, and will be reunited with her 5, 3, and 1-year-old babies at 5 p.m. today. Now, and she tells me what a wonderful captain this man has been. After 10 years as a surface warfare officer, Captain Quast attended the Uniformed Services University of Health Science School of Medicine, followed by a pulmonary critical care fellowship at Walter Reed. As a physician and leader, he has served all over the world, including, but not totally inclusive, Kandahar, Afghanistan, Guam, Rota, Spain, and most recently as the commander of the medical treatment facility, USNS Mercy. His awards and accolades are really too long to even try to list here, so without further ado, I would like to welcome and thank Captain Jim Quast.
Thank you, Jean Marie. Thank you. The slide, Jean Marie, the slides coming up, or do I? Here we go. Sorry. Well, thank you, President Luann. Thank you, fellow Rotarians and friends. It's good to be back here again. As was mentioned, I did give a familiarization brief in February, and then we had a couple of tours in, I think it was March, April time frame. So this is part 3 of a trilogy. So we'll call it The Return of the Jedi, I guess. But we'll go ahead and start with the talk. So as Jean Marie just mentioned, Mercy is in Hawaii now and is coming back to San Diego by the end of the month. So we'll go ahead and somebody go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm including some background information because I know not everybody was able to see the brief in February. So I wanted to talk about Mercy and sort of the rules of engagement here is I'm going to interject some photos. We'll talk about the mission, Pacific Partnership, which is what we just did. And I'm going to keep it hopefully lively and not just a bunch of facts and figures. So if you go back to the previous, this is the correct slide. So this is our mission. Our mission that Mercy and our sister ship Comfort have is to provide medical help to our sailors, soldiers, airmen, Marines in times of war. Unfortunately, in the 40 some odd years that we've been around, we've had hospital ships since 1798. But in our existence, Mercy and Comfort, we've never really had to go to war separate with Desert Storm. We were both in the Persian Gulf together. So we're more often noted for what our tertiary missions or our secondary missions are, which are to provide assistance in disasters such as Katrina, such as Haiti, if you recall that earthquake in Haiti in 2010. And Mercy has been involved in those as well. And our tertiary mission, or a mission that's far removed from our primary mission, is to provide humanitarian care under various umbrellas, which we call theater security cooperation. It's a big word, basically saying a humanitarian mission whereby Comfort where Mercy will go out to various parts of the world and deliver humanitarian care. And this helps us do our mission, but also spreads a lot of goodwill, as you'll see. But our underlying mandate is to be able to be deployed in 5 days, which is actually pretty difficult to do. It's a 900-foot ship, 1,000-bed hospital that we go from skeleton crew, and then we basically put everybody on board within a few days. We did this for COVID. We got underway to go to LA within 5 days. We went from about a 65-person military crew to 1,190-person crew within 5 days and got up to LA. So it's a very difficult mission to execute, but that's what the mandate is. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, Mercy's in San Diego. You know that. We have our sister ship, Comfort, who's out of Norfolk. Same ship. They're both built. They're retrofitted tankers that were built at NASCO right here in San Diego. So back in 85, 86 time frame. We've been around for a while. And these would be like super tankers like the Exxon Valdez that basically were gutted, and then we put a hospital within it for those of you that got to see the tour. They both cost $550 million in their initial build, which is quite a bargain back then. And as I mentioned, we actually flexed for the mission. The mission that we had in LA was a 1,000-bed mission, so we had a full complement of about 1,200 people. For Pacific Partnership, we flexed to about 750 or thereabouts folks to include civilian mariners and our uniformed personnel. And next slide, please. So here's some key characteristics I plucked out just to kind of show you. If you can see sort of the watermark behind you, that's the Abe Lincoln. You can see the Mercy in front of the Abe Lincoln. You see that we're quite large. This is a huge ship. It's the number 2 largest ship in the Navy next to the CVMs. And so, again, we actually when oilers, we get fuel from oilers, they come up to us as opposed to the other way around, which is a huge change from my cruiser or destroyer days. We travel at about 12 knots. That's full speed, so it takes quite a long time to get to where we're going, say Vietnam, for example. We make a lot of water. I was an auxiliary officer on the cruiser. We made about 12,000 gallons of water a day. Mercy can make 300,000 gallons a day. We have the largest blood bank in the Department of Defense. When we're fully loaded for combat, we can have 5,000 units of blood, which is the largest, include Walter Reed, Balboa, everybody else. Obviously, we don't carry that for humanitarian missions. We make our own oxygens. Became a big deal when, remember, this time last year, or maybe 18 months ago, in India, they ran out of oxygen. People were dying in the streets, and they started asking me, how much oxygen can you make? How long would it take to get to India? Just types of things. So that's one of our key missions and capabilities. And we feed a lot of people. Because we can have 1,000 patients aboard, to include that and our crew, we can make up to 7,500 meals a day, which is quite a big cafeteria. Next slide, please. All right, I wanted to talk about why Pacific Partnership. That's the mission that's being done right now, or just was executed. This was a mission that started in 2004, 2005 timeframe, where they had the Boxing Day earthquake. You might remember in Indonesia, where over 225,000 people died after the tsunami hit Banda Aceh. And we got the phone call, as did Abe Lincoln. You're going to get underway, and you're going to go to Indonesia and render care. And so Mercy executed that mission with the Abe Lincoln Battle Group, and we saw 19,000 patients, and we did a lot of good. It was huge, enormous goodwill builder for our Navy, for our country. And after that time, we started doing Pacific Partnership. That's what they named this mission every year since then. So 19 years in a row. This is our 19th year that we've done Pacific Partnership. Mercy goes out on the evenings. So we don't always go to Vietnam. We don't always go to Indonesia. We cherry pick different countries based on what the State Department tells us to do. And it's a huge goodwill builder, as you can possibly imagine. That particular mission, interestingly, when we were being diverted back from Indonesia, there was another earthquake in Indonesia. So they're on their way back towards the Philippines, turned around, went back and rendered care in another area, doing another 19,000 procedures. So we can do a lot of good in short terms. I should mention also that Comfort is our East Coast-based hospital ship. She does continuing commerce, and she's always on the tether during hurricane season to go to places like Puerto Rico. So I'm asking around, are you heading to Puerto Rico right now? You know, in Puerto Rico they have hurricane, so it wouldn't surprise me to see Comfort heading down to Puerto Rico. Next slide, please. Okay, I don't want to get too involved in these acronyms and command and control, but I think it's important to know how we get tasked and who we fall under. So we're technically under the military civil command when we're in garrison. When we're operational, we fall under the combatant commanders. So during COVID, you're more likely to stay. When we go out on these missions, though, these missions actually you can get tugged by whomever. So President Trump specifically wanted Mercy to go to Los Angeles for COVID. That was his decision. President Biden recently, after a kerfluffle in the Solomon Islands that you may or may not be familiar with, the Solomon Islands just signed a security agreement with China not too long ago, and sort of made intimations that they would start putting their military forces there. So shortly thereafter, President Biden said in the statement, we're going to send the Mercy Hospital ship down. Well, that was like 5 or 6 days before we got underway. And it takes about 8 months to plan one of these missions. So we were literally planning the Solomon Islands mission on the fly with about this much bandwidth in the middle of the ocean. So it's just interesting how we get tasked. Really, it just depends on which combatant commander or which person in the White House or Secretary of State or whomever the battles are sort of. We just answer a call. We say yes or yes. Next slide, please. Okay, this is kind of a high chart, but I did want to lay out what we did last summer. So this is the Pacific Partnership 2022. The 4 countries that were chosen, and I should say that we actually kind of truncated our normal mission based on COVID. We had these enormous quarantine requirements. As we were building the mission in July of 21, we had 30 days, 45-day quarantine requirements for some of these countries. So we would normally go to 6 countries. So they curtailed it to 3 countries: Vietnam, Palau, and the Philippines. And then Solomon's, as I mentioned, was kind of on a week before we got underway. So those are the 4 countries that Mercy actually went to. We actually rendered care under Pacific Partnership umbrella to other countries: Micronesia, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and Marshall Islands, were other countries that received care from the United States Navy, Army, Marine Corps, and so on, and mainly in terms of engineering. That's what we were doing in those countries. And the other thing that's noteworthy is that we partner up. So part of this mission is to make sure that we are figuring out how best to work, how efficiently we work with our partner nations, nations that you see, Australia, United Kingdom, Japan, and so on. Because when the stuff does happen, when there is a typhoon, we're going to be working with Australia. We're going to be working with New Zealand. We're going to be working with some of these countries to render care. So the degree to which that we're working with them during this mission helps us to lubricate that machinery so that we know what we're doing. The goals of this mission overall were basically to prepare for times of crisis and times of relative peace. We're talking mainly about those natural events, the typhoons, the earthquakes, the tsunamis, those types of things. We want to enhance our partnerships, as I mentioned. We want to develop a commitment to security. So when we go to Vietnam, for example, there's another big country out there in the South China Sea that are neighbors of Vietnam. You might know what I'm talking about. We want to make sure that Vietnam knows that we've got their back when things really get interesting in the South China Sea or in the Philippines or what have you. And we want to improve our interoperability. Next slide, please. So here's just a schematic of the 4 countries. I'll just point out, so when we went to Vietnam, we've normally gone to places like Da Nang and the Trang, but this particular region is a very rural, underdeveloped region called Hue An Province, which is where we went. From there, we went to Koror, Palau, which is primarily a search and rescue, CADER mission, humanitarian assistance, disaster relief mission. From there, we went to the Philippines, the island of Palawan. You know, it's a very beautiful place for diving if you're a diver. And then we went to the Solomon Islands, which is where Guadalcanal was fought in the Battle of Guadalcanal. So Vietnam was our primary, that was sort of our feature. It was our 21-day mission. I'll just mention a lot of good has been done in Vietnam. And this is probably a good place to say what other good comes out of Pacific Partnership. So here's more. So Mercy, this is our 5th time. The first several times, Vietnam did not want to have railroad ships there, obviously. We had a war there less than 50 years ago, and we're just now starting to, well, I would say in the past decade or two, starting to warm up our relations to the point where after Mercy went several times, the Gray Hull ship was allowed to go to Theodore Roosevelt, was allowed to go to Vietnam. So you could call that soft power if you want, you can call it diplomacy if you want, but to me this is just the side benefit of doing a mission like this is it really enhances our partnership with these countries. One thing, talking to the Vietnamese when we were there, there's a 96% positivity rate of how the Vietnamese view the United States, which is astounding to me. Not astounding when you're there, because they embrace you with open arms. But it was just amazing to see that, especially with the 50 years time that we ended up with Vietnam, that they have embraced us so vividly. They really want us there. They remember that we've been there before. I remember when the White Ship was here 2 or 4 years ago. They remember that. They talk about that. They're going to be talking about this mission for years to come. From there, we went to Palau, as I mentioned. This was a 10-day mission. I had my change of command there. We'll see some pictures about that. And we interacted with, in particular, the country of Taiwan participated in that. And that was a very delicate way of presenting that information. We couldn't just go out there and blast it out on our face. Something that had to be handled by the State Department. Because Taiwan, basically, in the backyard of China, China is very interested in Micronesia and that part of the world. They took notice of that. We know that they did. But to have them there in that search and rescue mission is extremely important. And then Palawan and the Solomon Islands. We'll talk about those in the next slides. So we go to the next slide, please. Okay, so there are 4 lines of effort or pillars of care that we actually use to execute the search part. We always think about medical versus a big medical ship. It's really not the only thing in town. I thought it was the most important thing. But really, all of these things are important. The engineers, so we took Seabees with us, and we had Seabees come from these various countries. And what they did was incredible. I mean, they're building schoolhouses, they're building areas for kids to play in, and community places. And these are things, they're building to Seabees quality, which is a lot different than some of the places I saw in Vietnam. That, they're doing the best they could, but a lot of these places were not built for duration, like the Seabees were. Post-nation outreach events. This is a community relations project. These are very important. Probably the most fun that we had were going to concerts. I'll show some pictures about that. So when you have thousands of people showing up at a concert, dancing with the kids, or high-fiving the moms, the dads, that was enormously important. And then the last thing is what we call HADR, Humanitarian Assist Disaster Relief, which is really the underpinning of what this is all about. Again, preparing for times of crisis and times of relative calm. That's actually humanitarian assist disaster relief, preparing them for that next tsunami, how to rescue them, how to make water, how to wait. So you can see the various pictures, and these are all from this mission this year. Let me just go through this really quick. So this is a Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force Petty Officer singing. She was like the Celine Dion of Japan. She's actually put out 2 albums already, but she's singing as a second-class petty officer. And when she went to Vietnam, she actually learned how to sing Vietnamese, a couple of songs. One of the songs brought people to tears. I'm not even exaggerating. It was about a war where the soldier goes off to fight the other country, and she's waiting and waiting and waiting. That's how it was translated to me. I was like, what war are we talking about? They've been in a few wars. And they left that ambiguous. I mean, it didn't matter. It was all about that. The wife waiting for her husband, and there were people crying when she was singing this song. So she was people would follow her from village to village. They wanted to know where we were going. We had provinces, going through the San Diego County. And so they'd go all over, essentially, San Diego County to listen to her sing. It was amazing. But the rest of the band was good, too. She was the head. You can see the kids. We did a lot of training, as you see. Actually, rather than rendering care, what we tried to shift our focus to is teaching fishermen how to fish. That's what we do. I can give you vitamins. I can give you deworming medications. I can deliver a breech baby, but isn't it better if I teach you how to deliver a breech baby so that, for generations you can deliver breech babies? That's kind of our focus. You can see that here. This is like advanced life support. Up in the upper right, did a lot of dentistry. Here's our Seabees, and this is another humanitarian assist disaster relief sort of exercise in case of the typhoon. Next slide, please. So this is our scheme of maneuver. I won't go through this in too much detail. We left on the 3rd of May. Hawaii, Guam, Philippines, and so on. There we go. No worries. There we go. So, Philippines, we were all over the place, and right here we started having some engineering issues. So actually, I would be a big black crayon, and I would just go like this, back to Guam, back to Philippines. So we did a lot of back and forth over there in the South China Sea. We went down to the Solomons, so they got to cross the line. We crossed the border, which was really cool. And then some of these, again, we didn't go to. So RMI, that's Marshall Islands. FSM is Ponape, which is Micronesian Island, Fiji. These are engineering things that were part of the civil partnership. And they're in Hawaii as of yesterday. Next slide, please. This is really cool. So after we got underway, our first sort of PR event, we'd only been underway less than a week. I heard rumors that there was one of my chief petty officers had a daughter as a special officer who just heard there was another daughter. Next thing I know, Twitter feed. And we heard we got a million views on this Twitter feed last time I checked. So this is really kind of heartwarming to see this. I don't know. It doesn't happen every day. I just thought it was really cool. Next slide, please. Then we pulled into Hawaii, and we spent 36 hours in Hawaii. Seems like we did about 1,000 tours. Mercy takes up a lot of visual bandwidth. When it pulls into Pearl Harbor, there are people up on Camp Smith or wherever they're looking down. I want to go see that shit. One of those people was actually Admiral Paparo, who gave us about 90 minutes heads up that we wanted to come see Mercy, which was really cool. I mean, obviously we were always ready to give a tour, but that got a lot of press. We got to render honors to the Arizona, which was very special to me. I think I've done that once in my career, but it was really cool to see Mercy decked out in the whites. And then we got to see some friends, the faculty serving Barb's husband, Barb. So we got to see a lot of friends. It was a very busy 36 hours. Next slide. We pulled into Guam right for Memorial Day, and actually Guam's a very good drive place to visit. This is Asan Beach in the lower left corner. So all the Guamanian people, the Chamorros that died, Marines that died, in 1944, we plant one flag. I've done this before when I lived there. I got the privilege to get involved in this, and it was really kind of special to see this Asan Beach. We actually then got a couple of days ago on our we got to climb the tallest mountain in the world, which is Mount Nadell. It starts at the base of the Marianas Trench. It's taller than Everest. It doesn't take that long. And then we obviously had a press conference. Everywhere we went, we had a press conference. This is kind of cool. I like this. This shows our multinational sort of team. So this gentleman is a major in the Royal Australian Army, and he ran our gender peace and security team. And that's another team that, again, that's sort of, it seems like it's uniquely American or Western, if you will. But we go in, and a lot of these countries don't have that quality or the healthcare access for children and women. It's just a fact of life. So that's part of the mission. So the gender peace and security team would go in there and specifically try to address those. Glad that efforts and really did an amazing job. Next slide, please. So this is something I hadn't done in 30 years. I thought this was really cool. We had an awesome commodore. He's like, why not? He starts, why can't we do this? Again, the commanding officer of the ship, actually the guy who does all the safety of navigation and the engineering work and damage control is a civilian mariner, and it's all about risk. I don't know if I want to take this risk, but he's a great guy, but our commodore managed to talk him into doing snowball in the middle of South China Sea, which I thought was really cool. So we just jumped out of his hatch. There were no sharks sighted this time. And several hours later, we saw a shark. Like, whew. It was really cool. The water was so clear, you can actually see the propeller of the ship under the water, which was Next slide, please. So this is just one of the countries. I talk about the medical line of that, but this is what we did in one of the countries. So what we tried to do, rather than saying, we're going to do this, we're going to give you cleft palates, and we're going to do gallbladders, and we're going to do, we say, what do you want? How can you best benefit your country? That's a much better way to teach a fisherman how to fish, be how to fish. And so what they wanted to do was some orthopedic repair, which is highly specialized, especially in this part of the country. We weren't thinking from Da Nang or Saigon or Hanoi, but we are in little old Hualien province where they don't do a whole bunch of hip replacements and it's a big surgery. And so we did those. We focused on that. We focused on teaching them laparoscopic surgery, which is they had these. I went in January to help plan this mission. We saw these laparoscopic machines just gathering dust. Why are these here? Well, we never got to train. The Communist Party gave us these things and said, here, learn these things. That's how it works. You actually have patients. Professionals who know how to use this machine. So we focused on orthopedics and laparoscopic surgery in addition to pediatric surgery. Interestingly, we got a $1.8 million donation from Stryker that gave us the titanium joints, which was really And another thing that was very impactful was burn patients. We've always focused on burn patients, especially in the wake of the Vietnam War. Most of the patients we're seeing are not Vietnam War survivors, but kids and families. But it has carried through with all the missions. It's something that if somebody says you want burn care, we're going to find a way to get burn care. We're going to get the top quality lasers and dermatologists and surgeons. So we did a lot of that as well. And then we had health fairs, and again, the subject matter expert exchanges is what we were focusing on, above and beyond the surgeons that I just mentioned. Next slide, please. The intangibles, I think, is what really the aftertaste that I left with. The things that it wasn't just that we did X number of surgeries and saw X number of burn patients. Some of these stories. So this is a really cool video that one of my orthopedic surgeons sent me. This gentleman in blue had cerebral palsy, so he had fractures and he went this had damaging effects on the joints. So his hip joint was essentially sealed up with this condition. So he'd never really been able to walk well for his 15 years and certainly not without crutches. So this is a very challenging surgery in San Diego, much less so they managed to replace this guy's video he showed me. This guy actually speeding past the ACL repairs. And it's like, so he says, when you're a post-op total hip replacement with cerebral palsy, he was walking without a crutch for the first time in 15 years. You want to move and don't tolerate a post-op ACL patient walking forward. This is really cool. So, great story. I got to see it. I got to hear it. And this is another story that stuck with me. This is important that while they had a premature baby at this point, we just happened to have a neonatologist on board a car with Monica Balboa, and she delivered this baby and then rendered care, got the baby off of oxygen. I actually had dinner with the vice president of that's all they were talking about. This is one of the stories that just resonates and just gets out there. So it's above and beyond the numbers. How many health fairs do you have? It's above and beyond. Next slide, please. So again, I mentioned Petty Officer Hodgman here in Jimenez. This is just Vietnam. So they did 6,700 attendees, 10 concerts in various parts of their province. Where are my MOQs? So we picked up a lot of trash. A lot of plastic trash. I don't know how many tons of trash it was. I know the one, much all of the beach cleanups. And this one, they actually had a full-on trash compactor that they had filled up, driven away, and brought another one in. So I don't know how many tons that is, but tons. And we did several of those. Our soccer team, they would actually send in their ringers for the semi-professional team to play our sailors. And I think we tied one match, and we played well for the others. My command team scored 5 goals in one match. I was like, you're a winner, man. Just showing up to win 5 goals. Amazing to watch. Another singer and more soccer. So this is Coast Nation Outdoors. This is one of the 4 members. The engineering line of effort was amazing to watch. These guys came in and they're just so intense. Like I'm familiar with physicians and nurses and foremen and how intense they are with what they do. These guys are really intense, pouring concrete, and they can talk about concrete all day like with their girlfriend. It's like, okay, that's awesome. And they took tons of concrete and made these beautiful structures, made these schoolhouses that are going to survive for decades. You can see the kids. This was actually in Solomons that this recently did. They didn't have much time to plan for Solomons, as I mentioned, but they did manage to refurbish an entire building, which I thought was awesome. And we did these other missions as well. So you can see how many different engineers, and this is not just Seabees. We were taking Marine Corps, Air Force, so multi-service, all over the Pacific. Next slide, please. Oh, and this is very memorable. I've had many memorable 4th of July. This thing took the cake. So we had a Steel Beach picnic for non-Navy folks. It's where you basically barbecue, burgers, and dogs and stuff. That was a lot of fun. We actually had the TAC Fleet band in Hawaiian shirts playing for us. That's very special. And that night we had all these extra flares that were about to go out of periodicity. So we lit off flares for it seemed like about an hour. It was like the rocket's red glare, right out there in the South China Sea. So next slide, please. HADR, or Humanitarian Assist, disaster relief. So we did a number of courses, taught people about infectious diseases and what you're going to expect to see after a typhoon, how to clean the water, those types of things. But the one that really took the cake in my mind was this multinational effort that we did in Palau. That was our big focus in Palau. Was all these different countries, UK, Taiwan, Japan, and the US, all doing search and rescue after a disaster. Generated a lot of great will. And again, that Taiwan, having that there, we didn't have to publicize it. We knew it was getting out there. So some of our other non-partner nations in that region of the world. Next slide, please. Then this is, a little bit of self-promotion, I guess. I had my change of command, the first and only change of command ever in Palau. I was very lucky. We were actually delayed by a week because we had an engineering casualty, which was, I have to mention, so 10-inch diameter pipe on a ship that was really built in the 70s, so it has half-inch of metal in the pipe that constitutes the pipe steel. And this thing at the base of the ship started regurgitating water, and there's no watertight doors down there. And we were like, how long would it take for this engine room to fill up? And before we could answer that question, we vectored our way to Guam, built a copper dam, hired some divers, and fixed that. So it pushed off the change of command by a week. But the Surgeon General, who was nice enough to show up a week later, he brought his staff, which was awesome. My family got to be there, and this is us celebrating after so it was a beautiful retirement change of command ceremony there in Palau, which is, again, place for change of command. Next slide, please. So mission accomplished. This is my assessment, obviously, but I can assure you this $40 million mission, our taxpayer dollars, in my view, this is money well spent. As many admirals I've talked to have said, $1 million spent doing this kind of thing is worth $10 million spent day in battle. And because we're trying to prevent war, build partnerships, build prevention and resilience, that's money well spent. I can tell you your sons and daughters and your fellow folks in service, they did a great job. You should be very proud of what they did. Again, we strengthened our partnerships. We prepared for disasters abroad. And we enhanced some security relationships. There might be one more slide. Okay, this is awesome. So, if there are any questions.
Okay, if we have any questions for Tim.
Is it on? Is it on? Thank you so much. And thank you for the tour. All of us that got to take those 2 tours, that was so amazing to see. And you're so proud of your ship and what you do. The mission is fantastic. So thank you so much for that. And I'd like to ask you, I was interested about the engineers and the CBs. Do you take equipment with you? I saw the big beams and stuff. Do you have that on the ship ready to go?
We don't take all of it. We try to actually supply it locally because it helps their economy. So to the degree to which we can do that, we will. So certainly we're not bringing cement and wood. There were certain parts that they brought. We had a big Connex box on the flight deck that we brought. I think those were mainly tools now that I think about it. I did peer in there once. But the materials, intentionally, they try to buy them locally. It helps the economy.
Captain Tim, you hear me okay?
I do.
So I know you have a very interesting career. You might, for some people here, may not remember how you started out for 10 years before you got into the medical side. Also, you told me today, in 10 days, something else is going to happen. So I'm going to ask you to illuminate on this.
Sure. I will be out of uniform on the 1st of October. So yes, as you're alluding to, I spent 10 years as a surface warfare officer, 20 years as a medical corps officer. So at the very end, I like to say it's like the Reese's peanut butter cup, sort of like the best of both worlds, as a underway doing medicine. It was great, but in 10 days, I am going to be out of uniform. So still trying to figure that one out. Thank you. Yes,
Captain, do you carry a helicopter detachment?
Okay, that's a great question. We did not take a squadron with us this time. And so recently we had our flight deck converted so that it's compatible with the MV-22 Osprey. And to do that, we actually had to take off one of our, what I would call a hangar. It was a makeshift hangar. And so because of that, we've increased our capability with the Osprey, but we've sort of taken a step back in one sense that we can't necessarily carry a 60, which would be our go-to platform, with us. I mean, I'm told, and I would defer to the gentleman, but I'm told that we could bring an Osprey. In times of war, they would just put an Osprey or two, cinch them down, we'll deal with it, we'll do the maintenance, we'll set up some kind of temporary shelter to do the maintenance. Nobody's ever talked to me about that in specifics, but the short answer is we did not bring helos. We did helo ops during the mission, but they were not organic to my ship.
Captain, so how often do these missions occur, and when is the next one?
Thank you for asking. They're every year. Pacific Partnership goes every year. Mercy goes every even year. So we're already planning the next one right now. So we're starting the next planning phase for the next mission already. they're choosing the countries. That's what happens preliminary. So our next one will be 24 that will be underway. So not enough, but that's what it takes really to spin on that. Yes, ma'am. That's so the South America mission is the comfort mission. So when they come, they'll actually go through the Panama Canal to get to the South America, South Mountain. They cover that area. We could certainly, but we have not.
Jim.
Last question.
Oh, it's on. Okay, quick question. The years where you're not going out on a mission, what happens while you're here?
So thank you for that. That's a great question. So we prepare by getting underway. We have 4 exercises per year. If I had my way, we'd be underway 4 times a year, but 2 would probably be nominal. We're going to start. We're going to start actually going out with the fleet, which we haven't done recently. We've been going out independently and doing our own sort of exercises and working with U.S. squadrons and so on. But what we're going to start doing this year is practicing with the fleet and actual fleet exercises. So we bring all those folks out of Balboa. We man the ship to a minimal degree. We're not trying to ruin their capability of doing surgeries and things like that, but we have a crew that can do a mass casualty at sea, and we do that 4 times a year. Sometimes it's spear side, sometimes it's underway.
Thank you, Tim, and congratulations on your retirement. I want to thank all of our guests today, and next week we'll be back here again at CCYC. It will be the the school board candidate forum. So we'll be starting early because 10 of the 11 will be here. So it's going to be a packed meeting. The next week then will be at the Dell, and that will be the city council forum. For both of them, just so everyone knows, that will be only registration for our members and their guests, because we know both of those are going to be popular, because I know everybody wants to hear the candidates on both of those. So thank you again. Great meeting, and have a great Rotary week.